All right, so up next, what we're looking at is trigonometry word problems. The only difference here that we're going to look at is a couple of things. Is number one, we don't have a picture, which is always a problem. And number two, we're going to look at some of the words that you might encounter and what they mean. So we'll get to example one because we're going to have to draw a picture, which I am no art major, that's for sure. Two people are playing paintball. One of the people is able to shoot the other from the top of a castle. The person who shot the pellet can see the person they shot with an angle of depression of 38 degrees. If the pellet traveled 50 meters, how high is the castle? So every time I have a word problem, I end up reading it like 3 times. The first time, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on here. We get 2 people playing paintball. One person's at the top of a castle and shoots the other one who's not. Okay, so I'm going to actually start off by drawing that situation. All right, so here's my castle. There we go. I know what you're thinking. How's this guy a math teacher when he draws great pictures? All right, I got my 2 people. So I got my first person. There they are. All right, that's my first person, and there's my second one. Whether they're male or female, you can decide. All right, now, they're going to shoot the person. So let's go. I'm going to go with red paint here. That's a terrible line. Let me see. I got to do better than that. Let's try the line feature here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Should we make it, I guess, a headshot? Let's go with a headshot. It's only paintball, right? All right, so there we go. A little bit of a headshot. Now, that's the situation. Now I got to put some numbers in there. Now, the person who shot the pellet can see the person they shot with an angle of depression of 38 degrees. What does that mean? Well, when you have an angle of depression, this person, first of all, this is their vision straight, looking straight. In that red line, that's just a straight line being drawn. All right, now, the angle of depression refers to if you are looking straight away, but you look down, depression referring to down. So our angle in here, whoops, is going to be 38 degrees. So it is down from our red line. All right, and what we're going to look for here is, well, I should keep continuing on and reading the question. If the pellet traveled 50 meters, so this black line here, the headshot, there's our 50 meters. And what we want to know is the height of the castle. So I'll label it with an H right there. There we go. So I just drew the situation. I read the question, figured out what was going on first, then drew the situation, then read it again to put the numbers in. Now I'm going to read it again just to make sure I got it all. So 2 people are playing paintball. There we go. One person is able to shoot the other from the top of a castle. The person who shot the pellet can see the person they shot with an angle of depression of 38 degrees. Okay, so they're straight away, down 38 degrees. If the pellet traveled 50 meters, which is that black line, how's the high as the castle is a green line? All right, we got everything. So now that I've got my picture, now I'm just going to do the same thing I've always done before with all the same steps. So first off, what information do I have? And by the way, up and left and right and up and down make a right angle. I should note that. So I'll put that little box in there. So we've got our triangle. But first off, the angle in here. Theta, which I call it, or it's typically called, is 38 degrees. All right, now, again, the side I always look for first is across from that right angle, which is our hypotenuse, and I have it. It is 50. So I got my hypotenuse there. It's equal to 50. Then I have across from my angle. I have an H. So across from the angle I'm looking from, that is my opposite side. All right, so now I've written down my given information. So now I'm back to using my memory phrases of sign on highway, cozy at home, tan on arms, and figuring out which one I got to use here. And so let's try the first one. Sign on highway. On highway. Okay, it's sign. I got to use a sign ratio. First one already. So I'm going to write down my ratio here, sine theta that I have to use. Let's see, sine on highway, that's the opposite, divided by the hypotenuse. All right, let's see. Now I'm going to sub in my information. So I'm going to have, let's see here, sine 38 degrees is equal to, make sure I got things in the right order here, opposite is h, that's our height, and below it is our hypotenuse, which is 50. All right, so now I got to simplify this. Now that's sine 38. I can figure that out. Again, I don't have to do the inverse here because we have the angle. We're not working in reverse. We're working normally here. So I'm making sure I got my calculator in degree mode, which it is. And I hit sine 38. And I get 0.62. Again, that's equal to h over 50. All right, and this is again where I create a fraction equaling a fraction here, and I can do that by just putting a 1 in the bottom, because anything divided by 1, as I've mentioned, is just itself. And so let's see, I have a fraction equaling a fraction, so I can cross multiply. All right, so I end up with 1 times h, which is h, and then I get 0.62 times 50. And let's see, I can just multiply those and get my answer. So 0.62 times 50. And I get, did I type that in right? Yep, 31. 31 right on. And I believe we're in meters. That's got to be a pretty high castle. There we go. That's like the height of an apartment building. So there we go. So I read the question, drew a picture, read it again, added numbers, and then solved after that. Well, I read the question again just to make sure I got it right. All right, so let's try another example of a word problem here. Again, looking at some knowledge. So again, I'm going to start off by reading my question first. So a person in a short apartment building wants to know the height of a taller building 60 meters from hers. The person uses an angle of depression to see the bottom of the taller building and an angle of inclination of 58 degrees to see the top. What is the height of the taller building? Okay. So first off, we got a person in a shorter building. Gotcha. So I'm going to draw my little person in here. We'll, I don't know, let's put them right here. You can actually do this, by the way. There we go. This is actually possible. When I'm in class, we actually do this. We find out the height of an apartment building out our window. Now, putting the numbers in, a person in a short apartment building wants to know the height, h here, of the taller building 60 meters from hers. So that means here, this distance is 60. These buildings are 60 meters apart. Okay. What else do we got here? The person in red here uses an angle of depression to see the bottom of the taller building. Okay, so again, straight across is normal vision. But if we're looking down to see the bottom of the taller building, that angle is 43 degrees, that angle of depression. 43 right there. Now, and an angle of inclination. There's a different word. Inclination refers to an incline. And when you're going on an incline, you're looking upwards. Decline, declination, you'd be looking down, decline. But incline means up, looking up. So again, that dotted line refers to straightforward vision, but they've got to look up to the taller building. And so between the dotted line and the green line here, the angle is 58 degrees. So put a little 58 in there. And what we want to know is the height of the taller building. All right, now I'm going to draw this 60-meter line here. I can kind of help myself out here. It's 60 meters in between the buildings, which means this red line here is also 60 meters. All right, now 58 plus 43 is not 90-degree angle here. But what we can do is that the building is standing upright. So there is a right angle here and a right angle here. Is that in fact, we have two triangles. We have the top triangle, number 1 here, and we have the bottom triangle here, number 2. All right, so we got two different triangles. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break the height of this taller building into two parts. I'm going to call this first part X, which is from right where I've got my two lines drawn here that I'm kind of highlighting. And then I'll find the bottom part of the apartment building, and I'll call it Y. All right, so I'm going to have to solve two different triangles here. So my first triangle, which maybe I'll just draw in green, a little bit in green. I'm going to draw it over here, triangle number 1. I've got my right angled triangle. There it is. The one side here is X. Now that red line along the bottom, which is, I guess I'll draw it right in here. That's our 60 meters. And then we also had an angle of inclination right in here that's 58 degrees. All right, so I'm going to solve this triangle. Now I also have a second triangle. Well, we'll get to that. So I'm going to use all the things I did before to find X. So number 1, my angle, writing out my givens here, is 58 degrees. Again, the angle across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. Guess what? I don't have that. I don't have the hypotenuse. Okay. The side across from our angle we're looking from is X, which I do have, and that is the opposite. So I do have the opposite, which is equal to X, which we're trying to figure out. And then that 60, that length of 60 is beside our angle. So that would be our adjacent. Or adjacent is 60. All right. Now we're looking at solving the triangle. So again, memory. What do I got here? Sign on highway. No, I don't have the H. Cozy at home. I don't have the H again. So tan on arms. Yes, we have the O and the A. So I have tan theta. I'll write down my ratio I'm using here. On arms, so that again is opposite divided by the adjacent. All right, so now the last step for this solving this triangle is I'm going to sub in my information here. So I got tan 58 degrees is equal to the opposite. Again, make sure I get the right things. X on the top, the adjacent's on the bottom. That's my 60. All right, so now in my calculator, make sure it's in degree mode. Tan 58, sorry. Oh, better fix that. And I get 1.6. There we go, right on. Equals X over 60. And once again, I'm going to create a fraction equaling a fraction. All right, so that I can cross multiply. And let's see here, I get 1 times X. Well, that's just an X. Then I got 1.6 times 60. And I multiply those two numbers, and let's see what I get here. 1.6 times 60, 96 meters, by the way. Now, that's just part of our building here. So now I got to figure out why. All right, so what I'm going to use is I'm going to find the size of my blue triangle here. All right, so that blue triangle I'm going to draw. There it is. And again, Y is over on this side, so I'll put the Y here. 43 degrees. That was our angle of depression looking downwards. And then this red line up there, which is on the top, right across here. So I'll put a 60 in there. That's the 60 meters, the distance from the buildings. All right. So now I've got my triangle. And so what I'm going to do is, like I did before, write down what I know. And so again, I know my angle here is 43 degrees. Okay, a side across from the right angle, there's my hypotenuse. I don't have it. Okay. I have this side across from my angle that I'm looking from. That's my y, so that is my opposite because it's across from the angle. Huh. Which is y. All right. And then my side 60, just like before, is my adjacent because it's beside the angle. And so my adjacent is 60. And this is the same as before. We had the opposite and the adjacent. We can use the tan ratio again. All right, so I know what ratio I have to use. Again, you don't get to pick. All right, so we got tan, theta, tan on arm. So again, that is the opposite divided by the adjacent. All right, now I'm going to substitute my information in. All right, so I've got tan of 43 degrees. All right, the opposite. Again, making sure I put things in the right spot. Y is on the top. 60 is on the bottom. All right, so simplifying here. Let's see, tan 43 degrees. Again, I've got to make sure my calculator's in degree mode, which it is, and I get 0.93. And again, that's equal to y divided by 60. All right, I'm going to create a fraction equaling a fraction so that I can cross multiply. So let's see here, 1 times y. That's y. And then 0.93 times 60. Y equals, let me see here, 0.93 times 60. I got 55.8 meters. All right, so we're not done yet. We got our two distances, though. If we look up here, again, our height, well, we just put x and y together. And so the height of the tall building is, let me see here, we got 96 plus 55.8 meters. And what do I get here? 55.8 plus 96 right on. This building is 151.8 meters. There we go. So that time we had to break up a triangle that wasn't a right angle triangle, but there was 2 right angle triangles there, and we just solved the 2 triangles and put them together. But again, the key to a word problem is to read it first, then know what you're getting into, then read it again and try to put numbers on your diagram, and then read it again to make sure you got the numbers in the right spot. And so then you can then solve your diagrams as we've been doing by, again, writing down your givens, what information you got, which trig ratio you have to use, and then plugging your information in and solving it.